forward to getting into the music. Thank you for taking a minute out
Yeah.
today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. So, before we get into the new album, I want to begin our journey with 5 years ago. This
Mhm.
pandemic changed so much about all of us, especially musicians. How did you get through that era, and how has it influenced the way that you create and live today?
Well, great question. Yeah, the pandemic. Yeah, it was like a weird time warp for everybody where you kind of lost 2 years or found 2 years or something in between.
Yeah.
And like a lot of musicians, was, holed up and like, what do I do now? And we play live a lot with our group. And so it was hard, but right before the pandemic, we had recorded, we went into the studio and I was preparing for the next um, album or idea for an album. And what I wanted to do is I made a bunch of loose sketches with chords and maybe different Latin rhythms that we play, bomba plena, Afro-Cuban rhythms, and like a key. And I would just say, and I wrote out, I had a bunch of lyrics, and so it was ultra loose. And what I wanted to do is, because we play so much live and so much improvisation happens, I wanted to capture some of that as we create music. So it was almost like backwards composing. And so we recorded hours and hours of this madness. So I would say A, and people would play a certain thing, and then B, and then I would recall A, and hopefully they would remember. And so of all the madness, I had hours and hours when COVID happened to sit through these recordings and kind of make sense of them. And I went and I chopped things up and I took special moments and I layered and all these things. And a lot of really interesting things happened from that. And I was like, oh, I should put this out. But it was so different and foreign. And then there was something I wasn't sitting right with me, even though it was so cool in many ways. And it was because it came back to the intentionality of the group we're playing this and we're playing this now,
Yeah.
which led to the album that we just put out, which is almost completely live in the studio with a little bit of overdubs, but vocals, everything live. And so I reworked these tunes, made charts from them, and wrote also new tunes. Yeah, so I just spent all of COVID just chopping up this trying to figure out the what's going on here. And it was exciting, really difficult. And then I came to a I was like, I don't even know what to do at this point because it's not sitting well, but now we have this album, so I'm very happy. Yeah,
So
many years.
yeah, for sure. So it's your seventh album. It comes out
Yep.
on Friday, December the 5th. So at
Yep.
the end of the day, what are you ultimately hoping the listener gets from this album?
Wow. I hope I hope the listener well, part of my goal is to always is, I play Latin music, but very influenced by avant-garde jazz and like punk rock and all these influences. And I understand that putting all these things together sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But I always want to create this whole new kind of experience, right? Where my goal, some of my other albums are the way they're recorded and done. They're, I would say, what some people would say, like challenging to listen to. It's not something you put on like to like relax or whatever. But this album, I really wanted to do that, but to bring people in, feel like people are inside of it, and that, and as one friend of mine put it, instead of being like, "Oh, that's cool, that thing that's happening over there," their comment was that what this thing I'm inside of, I'm curious about. If that makes any sense, I want to bring people in and sort of be curious and somewhat confused, but at the same time, just kind of give into it and see what can feel from that. As well as, there's cultural things that are important to me. Um, just to be able to broaden the spectrum of Latinness and what it is to be Latin in this world, whatever that means. That's a broad term.
Well, I would imagine in these weird times, especially since January, where immigration and anybody that's been in this country with ICE and all of this stuff, there would be a level of celebrating the uniqueness of each of us, especially through music.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And we've already been affected, and I don't want to talk specifics
Yeah,
because of immigration things, but
sure.
we've already been affected by this personally in our group, as well as one of the posts I put up. We have December 13th, we're playing at New Blue for our album release. We're very excited about. We're rehearsing after our interview. Um, and um, I posted it, and as one does, and what on Facebook, somebody wrote like, I'm like, yeah, our show did it, and somebody posted, somebody I don't know, like, yeah, free ice event, capital IC, like ice is gonna come and it'll be easy to pick us off. And so that, having come from Puerto Rico when I was a kid, I experienced a lot of racism, like old school style, and it's always been there,
Yeah,
right? But this is this is like a whole nother, that you're literally getting threatened, right? To have the government come in and sweep your concert is a whole another thing. And
yeah,
so, for me, the music that we make is very important to combat that, all of that.
yeah.
And so I'm very proud, I'm very happy, and very excited to play Ice or Not.
So yeah, for sure. So talk to me about the band. How did the band come together? What was the vision? Just kind of give me an overview.
So the band is we've been together for around about 20 years that we've been playing, and we've been very fortunate for that time to have regular gig, monthly or bi-weekly. Throughout those 20 years, we've in these two different, one was Zebulon, and that is now in LA. They used to be in Brooklyn, and now we play at Barbez in Brooklyn, which is an amazing, beautiful place. And so we've played a lot, we've developed a lot, and the members are like our Reinaldo de Jesus that's been playing that whole 20 years. He just won the Latin Grammy. And he's an incredible percussion. He plays with Antibalas. Chris Stromquist is also a veteran of the group, a drummer. He's played with Culture Shock, based out of Seattle. He still plays with them. Um, and Jackie Coleman, another Grammy winner, amazing trumpet player. Stefan Zernick, Barry player. He plays all the horns, and he plays clarinet, and he plays musette and all these things on this album. Maria Eisen and playing Puerto Rican Cuatro, the great Brian Vargas, who's played with everybody, and Juancho Herrera from Venezuela, born in Colombia from Venezuela. And on bass, we have also from Venezuela, Bam Rodriguez. And these are all phenomenal, top notch, and they're my friends as well, and it's so weird playing with these people that are just like my buddies, but they're world class musicians. So I feel so fortunate playing with them over the years, over all these years. Yeah.
So talk to me about your music journey. Take me back to your beginnings. How did this career gain steam and become who you are today?
So I came when I was 7 from Puerto Rico. My father was from Peru, indigenous from the Amazon. Uh, my mother in Puerto Rico. Then I'm the youngest of five. All my brothers and sisters were born in Peru. I was born in Puerto Rico. And then we came to, I basically grew up between Boston and New York, back and forth. And and I have a lot of family in Puerto Rico still, a lot of connection there, and I have family in Peru as well. And So when we came, I experienced a lot of racism, and I didn't want to speak Spanish because I didn't want to get beat up, and it was, like for years this went on, and I think went around when I was a teenager. I was really into painting. My father was also a musician. He played Peruvian huaynos on the violin, as well as classical music. My sisters played piano. They played salsa and classical. And so I grew up around music. My father loved music. He was only at peace when he listened to music. After a hard day working three jobs, he would sit there and listen to Bach, and everything would be okay. So I think I got that from him. I've been obsessed with music my entire life till this point. It's only gotten more, like just completely obsessed. And but I was into painting more than music actually, and I studied painting. And when I went to painting school, to graduate school, not graduate school, to my undergraduate school, I started making these collages of music, because at the time I didn't know there were any Puerto Rican painters that didn't look like European painters. I mean, there are, but I didn't know of them because there was nobody around me to tell me this. And but Puerto Rican music is such a part of the culture. I was like, that's gonna be my painting. So I actually made these like kind of abstract collages with music, with Puerto Rican music. Then I started writing songs and things like this, never thinking like I'm gonna be a musician or that's what I'm gonna do. And in my school, they were like, "Oh, like we love these collages, but you're a painting major, so we're not going to give you credit for this." I ran out of money, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So I dropped out of school and then started a band called Hayuya, which is the name of a native Puerto Rican cacique, as well as a town in Puerto Rico that has a lot of history, political history, and things like that. And we played like kind of the music I do now, but more punked up, and it really just lit a fire in me, and more of an obsession of music, of the possibilities, and also how people perceived us, and people were confused by us, and the issues it would bring up. And then in the late 90s, that band broke up, and I decided to start a trio. And I decided on a trio because uh, the the um uh the trio was just more manageable, and things like this, and uh and then a friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm starting a record label and I have this money from my grandmother's inheritance. Why don't you do a big band?" And I'm like, "What? I don't know how to do that." And so I did. And then through fire, because I had all these incredible musicians who were very upset at my bad chart writing, I just started learning, how to write charts, how to do all this. Then when I moved as an adult to New York, I was living 3 days in Boston, 4 days in New York. I got this regular gig and nobody wanted to rehearse, so I had to do more and more charts. So I got really interested in horns, and so the band became somewhere between 9 and 11 at times. And here I am, 7 albums later, and I love big ensembles. I love small ensembles as well. But anyway, and yeah, so the journey, it's been pretty crazy, but beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the bread and butter of what you do for all musicians is getting on stage in front of people.
Mhm.
What was that first experience of seeing a band on stage that made you think, I want more or I want to do that one day?
Oh yeah. So I remember when I was about 9 years old, my oldest brother, who was 11 years older than me, I would spend my summers in New York City working with my brother, uh, and he took me to a movie called Stop Making Sense. And I mean, just the energy that was it. I was like, that is it. That's all I want to do. That's amazing. All these people dancing, being happy, and the music is cool. And, I've heard a lot of music before them, but presented in this way, it was like, that's it. And yeah, it was incredible. And my last album, David Byrne bought my last album, and I was like so touched, like he, incredible. But that I remember that being a moment that this is it. This way he's doing it. That's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
So what is it that gets you up every day that keeps you motivated to create and to be a musician? What do you look forward to the most?
I love creating music. Like I get up every day, I go to my studio and I practice and then make sure I spend a lot of time creating and writing. I love um I just love learning new possibilities of music and then going into that rabbit hole as much as I can. And I love making music that's fun to play, but challenging to play. I love and just playing with other people. And when we play live, the improvisational madness that can happen is just beyond. And then and in that, in salsa we call it a finque, where everybody becomes one, right? The music becomes one, the audience becomes one, the band becomes one. That to me is the ultimate, and the most healing and the most powerful, and my that's my spirit God.
I love it. So let's say you had the chance to get into a time machine and go back in time and see one concert. Where are you going? What are you going to see?
I would go I would go back to any Duke Ellington day or night at the Cotton Club back in the
Yeah.
day when, like, in the 20s. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would give anything for that.
The reason why the question came about is there was a lot when I was really getting into jazz in my 20s, I would go down to
Mhm,
18th and Vine
mhm.
and I would just stand out there and I would just think about all of the musicians that came through Kansas City because we have a foundation, a mutual musicians
Yeah.
foundation. Every cat in the world came through there at some
Yeah.
point, right? So the amount of people, and there's a historian here in town. His name is Chuck Haddock. His mind is a steel trap. He knows everything about Kansas City history. And I remember one time running into him on the steps of the Mutual Musicians Foundation, and he kind of whipped around and told me a story about Charlie Parker walking up the street with a bucket of chicken eating a leg. Like he had the whole thing. Like he orchestrated this painting in my mind, and I was like, my God, how cool would that be to run into that ghost, you know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, there's so many concerts I would go, like Count Basie, forget it,
Yeah.
of course. But like, yeah, I just Ellington for me is just glorious. And I mean, I love to see Machito. I got to see, my main inspiration is Eddie Palmieri, who rests in peace. I saw him play. I knew some of his musicians in the later years played with me, not to compare myself at all to the master, but he was the, like, really the catalyst, like, to, the kind of gave permission to make the music I make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
yeah, it was a fortune. I saw him even not too long ago before he passed, and so magic, always magical,
Yeah.
magical.
The best concert I've ever seen in my entire life was Arturo Sandoval.
Oh yeah.
Dude, he just it was of all things, it was our Charlie Parker celebration week in
Uh-huh.
August. We have a week where like every day there's cats that are in clubs all over the
Yeah.
town. And he was the marquee guy and he was at the Folly. And I had never seen that level of entertainment. Like he was like a comedian. He was ribbing on people in the crowd, being playful. And then he was just, I mean, there was an encore. It just didn't even feel like a jazz show. It was
Yeah.
like something different.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, the where he comes from and Irakere and all this, like, just it's so thick and beautiful, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Just infectious, just
yeah,
that culture to bring it. And I think that's one of the things that's so unreal about what we're living through right now. Everybody has always embraced that level of people from other countries, especially vibrant music cultures that come into this country and enlighten us. I mean, that's why we have
yeah,
jazz.
yeah,
It wasn't something that was native to this country. It was brought
yeah,
here and it was
yeah,
cultivated and it's been made into this massive mosaic, this tapestry of wonder that
yeah,
is part of every country in the world.
yeah, absolutely.
you
It's
know?
magical,
It is
beautiful.
magical.
Yeah.
So, speaking of magic, why do you love this art form we call jazz?
Oh, I mean I love it for sort of what you were saying is that it's like I think it's the best of of the United States. Like the be like this is one little part. It's like the melting pot of what happened in New Orleans and New York and Kansas City, all of this melting pot, all the things that happened, including that after the Civil War, there was all these brass instruments kind of floating around, including the invention of the bass drum pedal and all these inventions, and also this Western music theory, combining with African American music theories of and Caribbean and clave and all these things that came together and then became, using Western music theory and then expanding upon it to make it work in this way where it's like we're going to learn this stuff and then we're going to be able to speak together in front of people in all these magical ways and then to transcend the world, like something about it that just made people wake up in the possibilities and how it continues to be a form that can, can develop and becomes so many other possibilities. And I know that jazz in it kind of the heyday go like it was like this and the bebop but I it continues beautifully. And it's a system, a structure. It's like kind of like clave, right? Clave is a system, and and yet it's a system that is so open to let the physical, the spiritual, the even the commercial, everything come together and speak. And that to me is like that's the best.
It
Yeah.
is. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone on the bandstand, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are? This is the therapy moment you didn't expect.
Yeah. Um, yeah, great question, very difficult question. I, on it, to be honest, when I was a kid, like the name Zemog El Gallo Bueno, Gomez is just Zemog backwards. That's one of my last names, Gomez. And when I was a kid, I had an imaginary friend named Zemog, and I would do drawings of Zemog, and then I grew up, in Puerto Rico. I remember seeing my grandfather lop off a chicken, give it to my grandmother, give me to my grandmother because he was taking care of me. My grandmother cut it. And also this whole and then we moved into a converted chicken coop when we came to the United States in Massachusetts. They had just added, so it was like kind of shack. They added a few places. So and so I had all of this and all the music and all the things. And I remember when I started the group, or even before I started the group, I had this sort of vision of who Zima and Gallo Bueno should be, right? And could be. And this was a person who was doing what I just said about jazz, could take all of these elements and mix them in a way, even the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly, and mix them in a way that made people that did a little bit of good inside of people, and like maybe realizations that weren't not necessarily intellectual that they could be, but that brought people together into a state of afinque and and um and sort of be a wizard at that, really good at doing that. um it was a person I'm very Gen X in this way where like selling out to the man and like being conventional, and it's sort of modern kind of like the modernist, like break convention. It was always part of my growing up, even though has changed a little bit in my life. Um, and so I wanted to be able to take all this hyper complex stuff and be able to make beautiful art with it in order to heal, like really for healing, to make sense of a world that makes no sense and that is very difficult. And I wanted to be good and a good artist to be able to do that. That was my goal. Have I reached this? And also very good singer and percussionist, a guitarist, and be entertaining and be welcoming, all these things. I think at certain points I've reached certain things like this. Have I become this person that I wanted to become? I don't know. I think when you start to get older, you start to realize that your perception of who that person should be kind of changes itself, right? So I feel more of a humble servant into this thing that has happened in my life, and to be able to do the best I can. And I feel so fortunate to be able to play with people that I highly respect. So what do I think of myself? I think I'm like many artists, I could always be better and do better and like work harder. But I also have learned to take it easy on myself and just appreciate. And actually, this album, I feel like because it's already 7 albums into this, um, that this album is really it's so caked in, is that this band has existed, is so caked into our culture as a group, that it has become what it is. It's not trying to become something, it is what it is. And that is beautiful to me.
So your seventh album comes out Friday, December 5th, 2025. It's
Yeah.
Ya Tú Sabes, You Already Know.
Yeah. Ya Tú Sabes, you already know. Yeah.
I love it. So if anybody wants to get a copy, the best way to support you and the band, how do they do it? Is it Bandcamp?
Yeah, Bandcamp, also Pinch Records. Will be selling a vinyl, but Bandcamp, and it's going to be on most digital platforms as well. Yeah.
Right on. How about,
Um, yeah.
no, I was just going to say, how about live? How can they catch you guys live?
So December 13th at New Blue, we're playing our baritone saxophone player Stefan Zernick, is his group Green Mambo that does Paris Prado kind of mambo is playing before us around 7, and we're playing around 8 o'clock, 8:30, at New Blue in Manhattan, the New Blue, the 151, and yeah, December 13th. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna play the whole new album live and some old songs as well.
Right on, man. This has
Yeah,
been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for taking a minute out today.
I
Best of luck.
appreciate it so much.
Yeah, you
Thank you
bet.
so much, Joe.
Yes, sir.